taking the time this morning to get an update on graduation. There's been a lot going on since the initial graduation plan was presented. It was done with the best information the administration had at the time. Things changed since then. I know since this meeting ended up happening because on Friday I was contacted by Mr. Jones that suggested maybe we need to talk about this. There's a lot of talk in the public about the plans, concerns, and so on and so forth. And Amanda also contacted me as well and expressed similar concerns. So I've been on the phone with both Tom and Rob, and First Selectman Rob Brule, since Friday, basically all weekend, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, talking about things. And obviously Andre's been involved as well. So really, this is all about celebrating our graduates, letting them know, congratulate them on the fantastic job they've done. They've had half a year of school stolen from them because of this virus. They deserve a good celebration for them. That will happen. Really wanted to thank Mr. Giard, Rob Brule, for he's got the full support of the town behind this, the town side of things. They will do whatever we need to make this go off without a hitch. So we're excited about that. I also really want to thank everyone involved here. The board definitely appreciates all the efforts by the administration. I know, given the environment we're in, this is an unusual situation we're dealing with. We also there's a lot going on in social media that was just unnecessary. There's a lot of rumors going around about the choice of the time for the graduation was ridiculous. It was just, those are the options that were presented to Mr. Hauser and make the best choice available. So there is no ulterior motive there. That's just not right. So I would ask Tom's going to give us an update, as well as Andre. I would ask that everyone just hold their questions.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Could I have a point of order, please, that I'd like to read? And by the way, some of this has changed a little bit, because at 8:15 this morning, I got a revised plan for the 2020 graduation. But I would like to raise a point of order, if I may.
Okay, just let me finish real quick, and then you can have a quick word, and we'll have Tom do his update. But that's basically, I just wouldn't allow Tom to get through his update completely, as well as Andre, and then we can have some discussion and questions. And I think most of hopefully the questions we have will be answered, and then anyone has any further input, that would be great. So go ahead.
My point of order should be before Tom's update, if possible.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So, Marcia Benvenuti, I'm concerned that this special meeting does not meet all the FOI requirements and Connecticut General Statute Section 1-225D. Was the public given 24-hour notice through the town clerk and on the town's website? I was officially notified at 9/11 on Memorial Day. Are the correspondence received available to the public for viewing at this time? I feel the general public was not aware we were meeting this morning, and a small group is reacting to information that was not given even to the Board of Education or finalized as before 8 o'clock this morning. All 21 letters we received made reference to a specific time and place for the 6/18 ceremony. When the confidential draft the Board of Ed received did not specify either time nor place. Everything was dependent upon availability. I think all corresponders made valid points, especially regarding the time. However, they should have appealed to the committee, the principal, and the superintendent, which, as of 8:15 this morning, I understand your letters must have had a wonderful impact, because as of 8:15 this morning, it is now at 6 o'clock at Waterford Beach. Also, all the correspondence should have been made public during our meeting. Are all these questions and concerns the proper way to do business as a board? The board is charged with setting policies which reflect the needs and concerns of the community. It welcomes dialogue with citizens regarding the schools during the public comment portion of our regular meetings and through correspondence. I think it is inappropriate to call a special meeting for an issue that should have been handled, and obviously was handled, by the administration and the staff. It is their job, not the board's. So before we proceed, I'd like assurance that this special meeting to discuss and possibly take action on graduation 2020 plans meets all state statutes, VO Board of Education guidelines, and bylaws.
Yeah, go ahead, Tom.
Yes, the meeting was properly posted in accordance with board bylaws and statutes, as with any special meeting. So it was posted in accordance with those guidelines and procedures. So it is a legally posted meeting.
Thank you, Tom. Just wanted to make sure of that.
Yep, and you know, all the correspondence we did get was spread by all the board members, and I think it's great. I think it's fantastic that anytime the public wants to weigh in on something, they should have a voice. They should reach out, and like they did, like you say, you know, it's great. And you know, and as we talked, Marcia, that you know, we don't want to micromanage the administration in any way.
Right.
But these are unusual times, so you know.
Are letters part of the record? Are they available?
Any emails of public employees and board members are subject to FOI.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And it was all good input. It was all kind of along the same lines. And as you said, I think the plans were being changed as these were coming in. But no matter what, we always appreciate the public, you know, comment anything that is helpful to us in informing our decisions. Make sure that we're doing, you know, the will of the people in the town, and not just acting on our own.
So Craig,
yes.
To Marcia's point then, why is this vote happening? It's my understanding that this is not under the board purview to approve activities at the building level. This sets a very difficult precedent if we are going to vote and have a special meeting every time we receive input from the community. Yeah. I agree with you. I think the response we got yesterday was phenomenal. I love hearing from our townspeople.
Yes.
But I do not want to set a precedent that we're not going to be able to keep up with.
No, and it's just, this is unusual times here, and it was seemed to be a pretty fluid situation. So I think I mentioned before, I don't know that we need to necessarily approve or vote on anything other than to really just show our full support for the administration and what they're doing, which I believe they have. So when we get to that, we can.
Right. As long as we do not vote on this, I'm very happy, and I appreciate the administration's willingness to keep us updated on all the happenings, because that is exciting, and we are often invited to graduation. So, but in any case, yes. So I'm fine as long as we do not vote, and that the public thinks that we approve these things. We do not. This is not in our purview.
No, and that's why I say I think this is more of an informational type of thing. If at the end you guys choose to put forward a motion that just indicates our full support for what they're doing, we have, you know, as we do, we support the administration always, and our teachers and everyone else that works under the Board of Ed fully. You know, we have their back, and we appreciate that, and we've got full town support as well on this to get this job done. So I just want to turn this over to Tom so that we can get the information out, and as well as Andre, and just if we can just let them get through everything first, and then hopefully most of the questions be answered. We have some discussion, and then go on from there. Thank you, Tom. Thanks.
Sure. It's an often overused used phrase right now, but these are extraordinary circumstances, and we're proud to share some information with the board. I want to start off by commending Andre Hauser and the high school team for working through this. They've been working on this for, I would say, over a month. They formed a robust committee of stakeholders, which I know Andre is going to go into more detail about. They had approximately 60 people on a committee, which, as you know, you get beyond 8 or 10, it's difficult, never mind 60. But they wanted to make sure they involved staff, students, and parents. And the committee, the largest stakeholder group on that committee was parents. This is a particularly challenging year given the public health conditions. We did receive State Department of Ed communication on graduation on May 14th. This communication was further reiterated on a May 15th call the next day with all superintendents who chose to participate, along with the Commissioner of Education and the Chief State Epidemiologist, Dr. Rich Melkrite. So it was, firm guidance from the state on this. And I wanted to share what the state stance is on graduation. I want to first start off by saying all of the governor's executive orders remain in place for graduation as well. That is important for not only the board to realize, but any public. So, for example, Executive Order 7X, which currently is still in effect, prohibits social and recreational gatherings of more than 5 people. That applies to all graduations in the state of Connecticut. The use of face coverings also applies to graduations. The Connecticut State Department of Ed guidance for graduation highly encourages registration for graduation of all attendees for monitoring attendance and the potential need for future contact tracing. The Connecticut State Department of Education, in consultation with the governor's office, the Department of Public Health, and public health experts, gave district 3 options in which they could choose to implement. I want to go over what those 3 base options were provided by the State Department of Education. Option 1 is essentially called the drive up, where schools could have a stage set up on school property for a school official to call the names of graduates. Graduates and their families are lined up in their cars in front of the stage, and when their name is called, the student could exit their car, receive their diploma while practicing social distancing, have a picture taken perhaps, and return immediately to their car. This process would be repeated for all graduates. Other than receiving the diploma, no individual would be allowed to leave their car. Obviously, a graduating class of over 200 kids at 3 minutes a child, which is not probably on an aggressive timeline, at 3 minutes to exit, walk, get on a stage, name, picture, return to car, would be a 10-hour ceremony. That does not seem practical. That would be more of a scheduling kids in waves, perhaps. So that was option 1, called the drive up. Option 2 is called the drive through. Similar to option 1, except students would stay in their cars when they receive their diplomas. As a student's name is announced, they would drive their car by a person distributing diplomas, and they would receive their diploma while they remained in their car, perhaps have a quick picture taken as well. So it's really a variation on number 1. Option 3 is what UConn chose to do, which is an entirely virtual ceremony, broadcast via Zoom or some other platform. Many schools are running a variation on option 2, which many would call the drive-in movie theater type approach, Fitch being one example. Any approval for any graduation in Connecticut has to be approved by the local health department, which our plan now has. It must also receive approval from the local chief elected official, which in our case is the first selectman, and it has. Any variation beyond that would really need to go higher up to the state. I can tell you on the call on May 15th with the state epidemiologist and the Commissioner of Education, many superintendents proposed alternate variations that were rejected immediately upon the spot. You might recall in the news one called the Air Force model, when the Air Force graduated this spring, in which they basically spread people out far apart, well beyond the 6 feet, but all on a large field. That was immediately rejected by the state under Executive Order 7X of no gatherings more than 5 people. And the rationale was, just because you're socially distancing beyond 6 feet doesn't mean you can violate Executive Order 7X, which prohibits gatherings of more than 5 people. I'm going to let Andre go over the specific details of the plan, but many more options were discussed, and I'm proud of the plan that Andre and the committee developed. A number of sites were considered, and with the help of our first selectman this weekend, after he consulted with our town attorney, and various department heads, we were told this weekend that Waterford Beach is now a viable location for our ceremony. I was in frequent contact with Mr. Brule, our board chair, and Mr. Hauser throughout the weekend to firm this up. I want to publicly thank Mr. Brule and the town for their support in making Waterford Beach a viable option for this to take place. This development over the weekend has opened up more options in regards to time of day and other details that will only enhance the event. I'd like to now hand it off to Mr. Hauser to walk you through not only graduation, but a series of senior activities and recognition. I'll be displaying a document via screen share that you were emailed earlier this morning if you want to follow along. Mr. Hauser?
All right, thank you very much, Tom. And you can see now the plan that we've got current as of this morning regarding our senior events and recognition leading up to graduation for the class of 2020. And as Tom noted, it was robust is a good way to put it. It was one of the larger committees I've ever worked with. We put out a request to anybody who was interested in serving on it to our seniors and senior parents, as well as the high school faculty. And we ended up with 20 students, 29 parents, and 11 faculty and staff members. So yes, roughly 60 people. And there were a few phases to it. One was that as people were volunteering to be on the committee, many of them sent me some information about the thoughts they had. We then asked them formally to research their ideas, their thoughts. We gave them the state guidance that we had at that time, and asked them to keep those suggestions within, that wheelhouse. And we then, took all of that information, put it together as well as we could. And we did recognize that some of the requests were not going to be things that were doable within state guidelines. We noticed certain big themes, some big ideas that people wanted as options. We ran those by the Ledge Light Health District. We then offered the full committee any of those options that Ledge Light staff had said would be doable. And it turned out the committee liked many of the features of both of the options we had put before them. So we tried to incorporate both of them. We realized that was going to be more than could feasibly be done in one day. And we started thinking about this as more of a series of celebration events. And the first, what we're working on right now, and it does say approximately June 1st, or quite honestly, as soon as possible. We're having signs made up for each of our seniors that will feature congratulations to the class, along with the senior's first name and last initial and their picture. And when we have those, the current plan is to line those along Rope Ferry Road. There's some interest from the students in lining those throughout campus first. I would have to, of course, work with Mr. Brule to see if I can get permission to open campus up to students driving through, because the most important thing to us is, first of all, following the guidelines, but also making this as highly visible for the students as possible. So whichever location is going to be the more feasible one is the one that they'll actually end up at. but we hope to have those at some point next week. And then we'd like to end next week on Friday, June 5, with a senior book return and cap and gown pickup day. That's largely a logistics day. We need to get their books back, their Chromebooks, things like that they've got out. And we'll be staging that throughout the day. Social distance rules say you can't ask 212 people to show up at 8 a.m. So we'd be scheduling a variety of time slots and asking people to drop by throughout the day to make the crowd manageable and to make sure we stay within state guidelines. And then at that time, when we get the materials from kids, we'd give them their cap and gown. We'd give them information on decorating their cap and gown, because that's a new tradition we started, I believe, 3 years ago, and that has proven to be very popular with our seniors. We certainly don't want that I'm sure some of them have been anticipating for a long time to be something that they can't do this year. The following Monday, June 8th, is when we originally had senior awards night scheduled. That is still going to go on, but that will be a virtual ceremony that will be pre-recording and posting on the school's website. Then we get to the two big events, the campus visit day and the graduation ceremony itself. So the campus visit day will be the Friday before the last week of school. And just like on the book drop-off day, we'll need to schedule that throughout the day so that it's going to be staggered arrival times and we don't have a huge glut of kids. And this will be, we're very fortunate that if you actually measure out our driveway and the roads through the parking lot, we've got about a mile of pavement there. And what we plan to do is create a number of stops along the way. And in talking with Ledgelight Health District, we determined that if those spots are spaced widely enough apart, they actually can be seen as separate locations. And so that number 5 as the maximum people available at any event or location, we get a reset button on that at each of those stops, as long as there's significant distance between them. And the key stops that we want to make sure we include, we want them to sign the senior rock. That's an important annual ritual that they haven't had a chance to do. We want them to pick up those senior signs that we will have been displaying. Ultimately, I'd rather have them in every graduate's front yard than on campus after we've displayed them for a while. So we're going to give them those signs that day so that they can, get a little bit of accolades from their friends and neighbors as people drive by. The senior class council is working on some senior gifts. Waterford Youth and Family Service is working on a care package for seniors. And of course, we do have scholarships and awards that we need to hand out. So we would want to have a stop for those as well. And then what we'd like to do is we're going to set up a stage at most likely the field house entrance. There was also a suggestion that maybe we would want to do this at actually on the football field. We are still in that planning phase. We're going to try to, meet as many preferences as possible, but one way or the other, a stage set up outside where students will put on their cap and gown. I will announce them. They'll receive their diploma cover because they haven't actually graduated yet, but we want them to pick up something that's going to look like their diploma in the picture. Diplomas will be getting mailed out most likely the day after or the week after the graduation ceremony itself. This would be an opportunity for parents to take pictures and video. We'll have a professional photographer there to take their actual graduation photo. If we can stay within that magic number 5, we may have a videographer there as well. And actually it says collect gowns after photo. That is out of date. A number of students on Friday expressed an interest in wearing their gowns to the final graduation ceremony. So you can scratch that bullet point where it says collect gowns after photo. We'll leave the students with their gowns because when we do the final actual graduation ceremony with speeches on the 18th, the kids will still have their gowns for that. And Thursday, June 18, this is the one where there's been some significant change since Friday. And that's in both the location and the time. At the time on Friday, having explored a number of different locations in Waterford, we didn't feel we were going to have adequate parking in town. And so we had a very generous offer to make use of Ocean Beach in New London instead. And they have an enormous parking lot. We thought that that was going to be, the location we were going to end up using. Now, they did have some limitations because they are, a commercial enterprise, the parking for the beach for the town of New London. So we needed to either go with a 9 a.m. start time or an 8 p.m. start time. In looking at the two, we thought that the 8 p.m. was really kind of late to start a graduation ceremony. We were also worried about the possibility that, because it is still sunny at 7 o'clock in June, there would be lingering beach people there who would still be taking up parts of the parking lot. Whereas if we went first thing in the morning, that parking lot would be ours. We would know that there was nobody else there. So we had made the decision that we wanted to go with the morning ceremony. That turned out to be the less popular option. And when Waterford Beach, due to some changes that the town of Waterford has offered to make for us there, then that became a more viable option that gave us the freedom to move back to our traditional 6 p.m. graduation ceremony. So all of the tradition that we can keep, the regular start time, having it in Waterford, we've been able to build those back in over the weekend. So I'm very grateful to Rob Gruhl and the town of Waterford for helping us manage that change. The ceremony will be getting broadcast on either the WPS or the WHS YouTube channels so that anybody who can't make it will be able to stream it in real time and see the ceremony as it's happening. We thought that that's important.
And that's going to be an important point because, we have Mr. Gruhl has Waterford Police Department working on traffic patterns and parking patterns, and there has to be some distance between cars. That it certainly will not be an unlimited number of cars per family, and that's the case. But I think that's an important thing that people understand, and I'm sure Andre will communicate to the parent community. Hence, live streaming it on YouTube or a similar platform. Sorry, Andre.
Thank you. And that's very important because our community is used to a graduation in our athletic stadium with almost unlimited seating in our bleachers. And this would be more like that foul weather plan where there are a certain number of tickets available and then we stream it to another location. And that is something that we're simply going to have to work with and work around. Now, the details of the ceremony. First of all, we are going to have to limit who can be on stage and who can be seated around stage to follow that max 5 rule. And people may be coming and going from the stage because of that. Obviously, the plan is to have me speak, and our valedictorian and salutatorian, they would be, getting called up from their cars to come and present their speeches. The superintendent, the board chair, the first selectman would be speaking. And then from there, we'd go to the announcement of graduates. Unfortunately, having live music, I always love having our music program playing, but we'd be looking at, on average, I think it's 25, 30 of our students performing at graduation, and that would really be a violation of that rule of 5. So we won't be able to have our music program providing live music. Now, the announcement of graduates, we asked Ledgelight Health District about a number of scenarios. What can we do? What we cannot do is call a bunch of students out and stage them like we normally would at graduation so that they're ready to go as we call names across the stage. As Tom mentioned, even at a very conservative 2 to 3 minutes per student, and remember that would be calling their name, getting them out of their car, walking through the parking lot to the stage, across the stage, and back to their car before we could announce the next one. At 2 minutes, that would be over 7 hours. At 3 minutes apiece, that would put us over 10 hours. And so we're not going to be able to do that in that fashion, which is why it's very important that we do that the Friday before with the stage that we're going to set up on campus. So instead, we'll be streaming a video of the seniors on the YouTube channel as part of the ceremony as their names are being read. Seniors will stay in their cars at that time, but we did get permission, because it's going to be very short duration and because students will be naturally spread out by staying at their cars, to have seniors get out of their cars in cap and gown for the changing of the tassel. And we'll call the senior class president up. When he's ready, we'll then ask the seniors to step out of their cars, and he will lead them, as the senior class president always does, in the turning of the tassel. And we're exploring the possibility of having a drone there to take a photograph of that moment happen. And that would be the graduation ceremony. As many of the traditional elements as we're able to incorporate, and unfortunately, a few of those traditional elements not being possible due to that maximum number of people outside of vehicles and together in the same spot. So if you've got any questions about it, I would be happy to answer them.
Hi, Andre. This is Joy.
Are there?
Yeah. Okay. So in my respects, I'm concerned as a board member of two things: legality and budget. It looks like you've got the legal aspects all covered. I think that's great. I don't know how you got all that done in such a short period of time, considering the legal process in Connecticut. So that's great. What about the budget? Will we be asked to allocate any monies for this?
And I can speak to that, and Andre can fill in. Typically, in any given year, whether it's a traditional football field ceremony, there's certainly a small budget that goes along with, obviously, caps and gowns and flowers and all of that, but, flowers for the stage, things of that nature. The use of Waterford Beach is free of charge, and Mr. Brule is committing any and all town resources, obviously within reason, to make this happen, whether it's park and rec, readying the grounds, traffic control through Waterford PD, town planners involved with mapping out the grounds and parking, certainly some signage and whatnot. We want to make sure Waterford Beach looks good. I don't see this as a huge expenditure. Andre, I don't know if you want to touch upon, there's typically an annual expenditure anyways for graduation.
Yes, and actually to touch on the legal side of it first, Steve Mansfield at Ledgelight Health District has been incredibly responsive. And I've been sending him emails, and very often those emails are returned as a phone call to get greater clarity on what is it exactly that you're hoping to do. But I've never gone more than a couple of hours between a question and having an answer. So they've been remarkably responsive, and he deserves a shout out for that. The financial piece of it, we do have an annual budget for graduation. We do expect to go over that. However, that's part of our overall supplies budget. And in the vast majority of areas in our supplies budget, we're not printing anything right now. So the printer costs, the paper costs, those are lower than anticipated right now. So we do expect to be able to cover any additional graduation related or honoring our seniors related costs through money we'd already budgeted for supplies this year.
Okay, that's great. If anything changes, please let us know immediately so that we can get together and approve any changes in the budget or additional funding for this to happen.
All right, thank you very much.
I want to thank you, Tom, and I can't believe that you actually got a committee of 60 people to come to a decision on something. So I'm so happy that we have such an active community and parents that are so supportive I got a lot of emails yesterday, as everyone knows. They were all calm. They were all polite. And this is what we hope for. We hope for an active community to let us know what they're thinking so that you as an administration can fulfill their wishes and their needs. So thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
I had a question. It's Amanda. Good morning. Is the Wi-Fi adequate at the location at the Waterford Beach? Just because I know you plan on live streaming it for people that aren't able to go. Is that correct?
Correct. That is something over the next 3 weeks we'll be working with Ed Crane on. There is power because they do hold events and things like that, and I'll put our IT department up against anybody, and they will figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Chris, go ahead.
Good morning. Thank you, Tom, and thank you, Andre, for this. My first question is, Andre, is it my understanding that once Tom sent us an email about this plan that we received last week, that you had a meeting with the parents via Zoom to share the plan publicly? Is that correct?
Well, I shared what was at that point the most recent draft of the plan, yes. On Friday.
For the comment earlier about or alluding to people sharing the plan publicly, you did share the plan with the public. So that's how the public knew about the plan in the Times or whatever, correct?
Yes, we had shared it with, I believe there were mid 40s, about 44, 45 of the 60 committee members were in that Zoom conference call.
Okay.
And, you know, what I told them at the time was that any final plan would be announced after the board meeting this morning, but that I was sharing with them the plan as it was drafted right now, subject to some potential changes moving forward.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I want you to know, and I want everyone to know, it's not my goal to micromanage the system. That's not my intent. Nor is it my goal necessarily for us to take a vote or to be advised of what's going on. I asked the questions because people asked me the questions as a board member. So I asked Tom and I asked Craig, what's the deal? What's the story with graduation? Because I don't have the answer. And I said to Tom, we should be transparent in the process. And if it means that we get together so we know, we can tell people what the answers are. And I think that's where there's confusion. So I don't want there to be confusion. My goal was for all of us to be on the same page. In terms of the plan, whether we're voting or whether we're not voting or whether being advised, I want to offer the following suggestions or recommendations. I would hope that we could reach out to the first selectman and get the signs moved to the inside of the campus. And I would hope that he would agree to that so people can drive in and take their time in a leisurely fashion to look at the signs and celebrate the seniors. So this way here, people aren't stopping on Rope Ferry Road, blocking up traffic and making it a traffic nightmare. Because some people want to see the signs, and there are drivers who don't want to see the signs. So give the opportunity for the people that want to see the signs a chance to take a photo, a chance to practice social distancing, and get out, if they so choose, on their own and see their sign and celebrate their sign. So I hope that. Go ahead.
Just a clarifying question on that. Are you talking about the signs being on the inside of campus on Friday, June 12th, or in general? I just want to make sure
I'm talking about, as I see the date of June 1st for senior signs, and I see June 12th, campus visit day. So I'm talking campus visit day or any of the above. Any way, shape, or form, I don't feel it's best that the signs are on Rope Ferry. I think the signs should be in the campus so people can see the signs. And if I heard you correctly, that's an issue with the first selectman. So I would hope that we would ask the question and say, put the signs on the inside of the campus as a traffic situation. That's just me, and that's just my opinion. My next point is, in the world of practicing social distancing, in regards to the campus visit day, is it possible that you can add the following station? And again, practicing all social distancing guidelines to give these kids an opportunity to walk on the field and take a picture on the field with the W, so they have the opportunity to take a picture on the field, just as their parents, their friends, their brothers, their sisters, and past graduates have done. Can that be added to this process of campus visit day? Can that be considered, or is that a possibility?
It's something we're considering adding. We just need to figure out the logistics about where they would need to park, or will we have enough room for cars to pull over or park there. But yeah, that's something we can consider.
My next thing is, I realize this is a unique situation. I realize it's not the ordinary, and we're working and thinking outside of the box. Aside from what I asked about the signs, what I asked about the field, my third question is, can we do the following in terms of following social distancing? Is give these kids a chance to go through the halls and take the picture, photo, so they can have closure. They walked out of that building and they didn't know that they were walking out of that building, and they can't take the photo at their locker. So can we add to the station that they are able to go in the hall practicing social distancing to take a photo or to celebrate whatever they want to celebrate, following all social distancing guidelines? That's my next question.
Chris, I'll take that one. That is under consideration, whether it's a part of June 12th or a little later on in the summer. Andre and I definitely share a feeling that piece of closure is necessary. We are, this would not be the only reason, but we are in the midst of custodians tearing apart buildings for summer cleaning and things of that nature. So if not on the 12th, we absolutely plan to open the school to seniors at some point to allow them a tour for that piece. So whether it's a part of the 12th or at a different date, that's absolutely under consideration.
Even if, and I understand that they have to tear out the buildings, they have to do the work, but to that point, whether it's done on the June 5th day, which possibly could be a good day, whether it's done on the June 8th day, whether it's done on the June 12th day, but can that just be added to the process? In terms of the signs on Rope Ferry, I'm not a bright guy, but I would think it would make more sense that those signs are inside the campus. If you think about that traffic on 156 with ambulances going through there, coming from Niantic, coming from Olam, going to L&M, I don't see how it's practical that those signs could be better served on Rope Ferry as opposed to inside the campus. That's just my thought. My other thought is, I think about the movie Shawshank Redemption. And I think about He kept writing and writing for the books. And finally they said, stop writing for the books. We're going to send you the books and we're going to close this out. Stop writing. It's to my understanding, those calls on May 14th and May 15th, if a town, a district wanted to go out of the norm, you had to present a plan to the commissioner for the commissioner to approve the plan. So I think after looking, and I stayed up very late reading all of these emails that came in, every one I read, can we, with consultation with Ledgelight, following social distance rules, present a plan to the commissioner and say, we want to do this plan, and have him say yay or nay to the plan? So then for everyone who thinks that we want to do this plan, they understand and hear we can't do the plan because people are up in arms. And I get that they're up in arms, but I would hope that we could at least push the envelope and ask the question. And I think in our current state, many things have happened since that May 14th and May 15th call. Let's just ask the question and say, we want to do this. Can we do this based upon guidance from Ledgelight? Because I feel like ultimately it sits with the Commissioner of Education. So I would implore us to at least ask the question for them to say yes or them to say no. And I think that would answer a lot of people. And then it might change things. That's just my thought.
In regards to what aspects, Chris, I'm not sure I'm following specifically what you're referring to.
And to the students going to Ocean Beach and the students going to Waterford Beach, can it be done on campus? Can it be done with just the kids, 6 feet apart, hear me out, televised, without anyone else there, so they have their moment? And I know it's a variation of the plan, but again, it's my understanding that if you want to variate from the plan, you have to submit a proposal to get the plan approved. So can we ask the question, can it be done on the field, on the campus, following social distance guidelines, for them to say yay or nay? Not Ledgelight, but the commissioner.
So that question was specifically asked on May 15th to the commissioner and the state epidemiologist, i.e. the Air Force plan, and it was a resounding no, and it was a no as of last week with the local public health district.
Okay, so be it. Thank you.
Go ahead, Michelle.
So thank you very much for all of your hard work. I really appreciate that. And I do agree that we should not necessarily step in on administrative decisions, but I do just want to say this is a different time, and I would think, I guess what I'm having a hard time understanding, and there's not really an answer to it, though you have somewhat answered. If parents were involved, then I guess we wouldn't have so much flurry of emails and frustration after the memo went out. And so if they were truly involved, they would have known about this, and the flurry and frustration would have happened prior to Friday, and all of this would have changed prior to this weekend after the memo went out. If you know, and I'm obviously hearing so many different perspectives, and did not hear anything about any of this. I will say I did not know anything until yesterday morning. So I might be late to the ball game as usual, but I would have assumed, in working with kids and working with parents on many other issues, If this was all discussed, we would have had this about a week ago instead of over the weekend. And if it did have the opportunity to change, it seems like it changed because of the flurry. So I think that, thank you to the parents and thank you to the school and the administration for responding. I just wish it didn't have to come to this for it to change. And I know there's a lot of moving parts. I do just want to say I am working with a group of seniors from around the region on a different project, and they are really struggling in general. Our seniors are really having a tough time, and the rites of passage is extremely important, and their mental health is extremely important in the acknowledging them prior to this graduation, their sense of feeling like they haven't been acknowledged very much prior to this one week. And so I appreciate everything being done, but I do think moving forward, we really need to somehow continue to think about all students. And again, not just forget about, this one big event, but remember that we do have a mental health crisis going into the summer as well. A lot of things not being able to happen. We're going to have a mental health issues with our younger folks. And after this, we need to focus on those issues, which are really important as well, and those rites of passage that we're going to continue to have down the road. So I'm glad to see that this all worked out over the weekend. Just wish it was a little bit sooner with parent involvement sooner. Thank you.
Yeah, on the parent involvement piece, I want to again go back and commend Andre for his work having, 29 parents involved. I can tell I was not on the call on Friday, but debriefed that call. There was broad support amongst the 60 committee members on Friday. Much of the resulting chatter after Friday was from parents who did not volunteer for the committee. So, no plan's going to be perfect. We've heard from 20 or 25 parents, and the other 182 have been, fairly quiet or supportive. So, again, I think Waterford Beach was not a viable option until this weekend, else we would have been working under that premise all along. And again, I want to go back and thank Mr. Brule for relooking at that site and working. I know he told me he had to consult with the town attorney on a few things and has engaged traffic control and everything else and whatnot. So we're happy to have the ceremony in the evening and in Waterford.
Chris?
It takes me a minute to unmute, Craig, so sorry. Andre and Tom, if I didn't thank you, I want to take an opportunity to thank you. I realize and I understand you're not in an easy situation. And I realize and understand people are pulling you in many directions. And I realize and recognize you're not going to make everyone happy. So I want to, again, thank you for your work. I want to thank you for communicating with us. And it's always important to me for us to be transparent in the process. So I'm glad that we're able to meet so everyone knows to eliminate any confusion, because there was confusion. And if there's confusion, I asked the question. That's why I called you, Tom. That's why I called you, Craig, to ask the question. And I know it's a hard question. And I would just hope that aside from the signs, aside from them going on the field, aside from the hallway or the halls of the building, this stuff is changing every day. And I hope that if something changes, that the guidelines are lifted or the guidelines are reduced or whatever, is that we look at this again or revisit it in case we have to modify the plan to make it better for the seniors, because that's our goal, is to do what's right for the kid. So if the guidelines change prior to then, I hope that we can revisit this and say, let's do something else, because I think that you hear every day things are changing. So like Rhode Island, it's been my understanding June 1st, they're changing things. And I feel like if Rhode Island's going to change things on June 1st, Connecticut will follow. And if they do follow and we do something else, let's revisit this and expand the plan to do what's right for the kids.
Does anyone else have any other input they'd like to give? Any questions?
Yeah, just one last thing from me.
Okay.
I know this can be very challenging logistically. I would like to volunteer my time to help. If you need anything, moving traffic, whatever, I'm very happy to volunteer my time to make this happen for the kids. I know a lot of the seniors, and I'd like to be there for them, and they deserve it.
And sorry, Craig, and Tom and Andre, I offer the same thing. I don't do manual labor, but I will help, just so you know. So you won't see me putting well, maybe I'll put some signs in the grass, but if you need my help, seriously, I'm willing to help. And I want to help not as a Board of Ed member, but just as someone who wants to see and do the right thing for the kids. So however I can help, please, I want to help, because I get it. You're not in an easy spot.
Yeah. Marcia? Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank Tom and Andre and all the faculty and staff and the parents that put forth this plan and considered all these options and revised this so meaningfully at the last minute over the holiday weekend. I'm sure you guys worked countless hours to make this happen, but your knowledge of all the COVID rules and all the things that you had, all the hoops that you had to go through is what makes the administration the people to go to for this sort of information and guidelines. And without your professionalism, we wouldn't have this plan and it wouldn't be acceptable for the state. So I applaud all of your professionalism and your knowledge and your allegiance to rules. Thank you.
My last point, sorry. The letters or the emails I thought were phenomenal. And one of them is from a senior, I guess. Her name is Chelsea Santos. And I think about when I read all these emails, those seniors, they're phenomenal. They wrote letters, they wrote emails, and they communicated their thoughts in a great, great way, advocating for themselves. And they did it right, and they did it correct. So we owe them this meeting to say, what else can we do to push the envelope? But if you read Chelsea Santos's email, that's just one. She did the right thing, and it's a great job by her. So kudos to her and the seniors for trying to get it right and trying to do the right thing. And again, kudos, Tom, to you and Andre and the staff.
Okay. As long as I don't see anyone indicating that they have anything further to add, so be happy if someone would like to make a motion to, to.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Okay.
I second.
All right. Any discussion? Okay. Just to let you know, we at the board does support everything you guys are doing. We appreciate it so very much. And so with that, I'll vote. Ask all those in favor for adjournment.
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstain? Okay. Ayes have it. We are adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone. You guys are great and appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.